Excellent.
Yay.
Okay.
Cool. I'll be back. You know how to turn it off, so just stop the meeting and then it'll automatically download.
Will do.
Cool, thanks.
All right. Good morning, Natalia. It looks like it may just be you and I, which is fine. It looks like I'm on two cameras. Yep. On two cameras. Isn't that great? Okay. So today we are doing the HUD home store. I guess I need this on. Nobody's here. This is when you have an FHA property and it is foreclosed on. The entity that takes over that property and ultimately conveys it is the HUD home store. So the property or the address that you want to go to is hudhomestore.com. So that's what you're looking for when you're trying to log in, and it will bring you to this page. And the other thing I like about this is you can actually give your clients that address. If you've got an investor that is interested in trying to, quote, find a deal or whatever, you can actually give them this website and they can come look. They do have the ability to make a bid, but it's so much easier to do it through you. And so you get to this main page, and the first thing that you need to do is you need to register as a bidder. And it's going to bring you to this page right here. And we are a selling broker. And then whatever your role is, you will be a selling agent. And then it's going to bring up this section right here. And our NAID number, so you're going to need to write this down because this is specific to us. You need to write it down, is GRTRSP4912. So that is our NAID number. So whenever you see them asking for that NAID right there, this is it, GRTRSP4912. And then you'll put in your license number and your expiration date and the state and all your information here. Please use a username and password that you're already using, because a lot of times I get a phone call that says, how do I get into my HUD home store account? And what I normally say is, well, if you did what I told you, it will be a username and password that you were already utilizing. So you'll do that. Basic security questions. You will put your information in here, accept their terms and that you're not a robot, and it will take you to a secondary page as well. I'm not going to go through it because I'm already registered and I don't want to do that twice. But once you get registered, it will actually give you the ability then to log into your own, quote, page within HUD home store. So hopefully I can remember what my login is. Look at that, I remembered. And then we'll have your information up here in the top corner. We'll say, welcome, Natalia, up here in the corner. So back to our main homepage here. So that's one thing, you've got to be registered in order to make a bid for your client. So I encourage you just to go ahead and get that done today. And then that's one less thing that you have to worry about. But when we come to this main page, there's two different ways that we can search for properties. One, I can just come over here and click on the state and it will bring up everything in the state. Or I can do the basic search like we would do in the MLS here and say, I want a property in Greene County. And we'll see if there are any in Greene County. There have not been any recently. So there are no results in, oh, I spelled it wrong. Maybe that's part of the problem. All right, there's still none in Greene County. So we're just going to search the whole state right now, just because it's easier. So this is going to bring up everything that's available in the state for sale through the HUD home store right now. And if there were several in Greene County, it would do the same thing just in Greene County, but currently there just aren't that many properties available. So they will give you the general information here on this first page. The property case number, about the property. This is how HUD actually identifies the properties, is with this case number. Property address, what the list price is, a quick bed and bath count, what the listing period is, bid open date, and I will cover all this in just a minute, and so forth. So if you wanted to save it to a saved search, you can do that here. I feel like there's something else I needed to tell you right there. We'll just click on one of them and look at it. So if you click on it, it brings you to this secondary page, which obviously is going to give us more information. Property address, the room count, square footage, lot size, when the listing period is, and exclusive. So when you open one of these up, it will show you specifically who can bid on this property. So this one is within the first 10 days of it hitting the market. So until the 31st of January, owner occupants, not-for-profits, and government agencies may all submit bids. And all of those bids will be looked at as of February the 1st at midnight. And they will all be looked at as if they came in simultaneously, because they want to give owner occupants the opportunity to get into the property. Obviously, owner occupants were the ones that came out of these properties, and that is what they're hoping to put back in there. Hopefully, again, under an FHA loan, so the FHA can get that money back. But they will also have this information over here, this listing period deadline, and so forth up here too. But here is this original list price that you see here was determined by an FHA appraiser. They went out and they appraised the property, and they said it was worth 45 grand in its current condition, and that's what they listed the property. You will also see this blank right here, FHA financing, and it will be on all of them, and it will have one of three codes. It will either say IN as in Nancy because it's insurable, it will say IE because it's insured with escrow, or it will say UN because it's uninsurable. Now that does not mean that you can't get insurance on the property, nor does that mean you can't get an FHA loan. It just means that HUD is not going to help you pay for anything to fix that, to get it in that condition, and you've got to do a specialized loan for that, which I'll tell you about in a minute as well. This one is insured with escrow. So what HUD has done is they've gone in and determined that this property needs some repairs in order to meet all of FHA standard requirements. So if your client is getting an FHA loan, they can, is this the one I want? No, this is the initial report that the field inspector does on the property. And they just test the basic systems. So this is not a full-blown inspection at all. But you know, is it one of those where I'm able to test any of these things? They weren't able to test anything because there was the electrical was outdated. There was no appliances. The water heater was brand new, but the property was winterization. They blew the pipes out. So this is just the basic information about the property. This is the one I want. So the FHA appraiser has gone in and determined that we've got to repair this peeling paint and the electrical because the electrical is outdated. So we've got to make sure these two things are done. So what happens is when your client gets an FHA loan, and this only applies if your client is getting an FHA loan, they will send out the HUD inspector, or not the HUD inspector, your client's appraiser. And it says right here, final repair escrow to be determined by the buyer's appraisal. So what the appraiser will do is they will go out and A, number one, appraise the property, and B, they're going to determine a price on these two items that is going to cost to fix those things. So let's assume that those two items came out to be $1,000. What HUD is going to do is HUD is going to set aside 110% of that amount. So they would set aside $1,100 for the repairs of peeling paint and electrical. What your client would do is if your client was bidding $100,000 on this house, they will actually get a loan for an additional $1,100. So essentially what they're going to do is they're going to get these repairs done. And when the repairs are done, though, that amount will be taken off of their loan by HUD paying it back because HUD has already agreed to pay for those items. So it's a lender situation on how the loan is set up. But in essence, as long as your client makes the repairs, it doesn't cost them anything to do that. So again, that is only applies when your client is doing an FHA loan. This program here is something if your client is doing an FHA loan to certainly talk to their lender about, because I don't know enough about it to tell you, but there is a program where they can do $100 down in order to buy the property, but they've got to meet some specific requirements and the property has to meet some specific requirements. So, but if you've got someone doing an FHA loan, absolutely have your lender investigate this and find out if this is applicable for your client. Lead-based paint, which you're going to see normally, I've already shown you the property condition report. If your client wants a sample of what they're going to be ultimately signing, you can show them this. I do not want you to fill this contract out because it's not going to do you any good, because HUD is ultimately, if you are the winning bid, they are going to send you a packet with everything already populated and filled in these blanks the way they want it. We're going to fill this out in just a minute to make an offer, but we don't want to fill out this paper version because we're all going to do it electronically. But if you've got a client that really wants to have the paper in their hand or see what they're going to be signing, this is every single document that they will have to sign in the process. And there are some important things in here that I do like to point out. Earnest money and extensions. So if you've got an investor, I'm going to tell you odds are they're not going to get their earnest money back. That's just pretty much cut and dry. There's very few things that will get their money back as far as an investor goes. If you're an owner occupant, 99 times out of 100, I can get your earnest money back as long as it's for good reason. If your client just decides they don't want to buy the house, they're going to lose their earnest money. But if they can't buy the house because of something specific that's happened in their life, I can certainly get them out, or something that we found in the inspection, I can certainly get them out. HUD only extends their contracts in 15-day periods. So, oh, prices aren't here. I thought the prices were here. They are. So if we've got to extend a property that's $25,000 or less, it's going to cost your client $150 to extend that contract. If it's 25 to 50, it's going to cost you $225, or if it's 50 grand or more, it's going to cost you $375. Now, the thing that I always tell clients about, or agents about this, is that if I have to extend, and the reason is because of the lender, I want the lender to pay this amount, because my client was ready, willing, and able to buy that house, but the lender was the one that dropped the ball and or didn't get something done. HUD will pay up to 3% of customary closing costs. I've never had anything in the area that has not been customary, that has not been allowed to do. We have an opportunity to do a walkthrough. If the property, the offer price exceeds the appraised value, it says right here, I will be responsible for the difference in cash. So your client is agreeing that if it does not appraise, HUD is not going to negotiate that. You're still going to pay the same amount that you already agreed to, and your client's going to have to come up with the difference. Buyer understands everything that's there. Here again is the close date extension policy that they're going to sign off on, that if we have to extend it 15 days, here's what it's going to cost us. Purchaser's rights, it's your job to check on the property, get a home inspection, 15-day cancellation for owner occupants based on your home inspection. Here's the 203K that I talked about. If the repairs to a property where HUD is going to give you FHA money, because your client is getting an FHA loan, if the repairs are less than $10,000, that is called a 203B. That's the type of loan that your client will get. 203B with escrow. If your client is buying a property where the repairs are over $10,000 and they're still buying at FHA, they will do this 203K. And we've got to have, there's only certain lenders that know actually how to do this one. So you need to make sure that your client's lender can actually perform this if that's the road that we're ultimately going down. You got a chance to do a final inspection of the property and make sure it's all the way it's supposed to be. You will get a mold and a lead-based paint notification on every property, because they're just going to do it on every property. They don't pick and choose. These next 6 pages you will forward on to your title company, and they will actually sign off on those once you get the contract package. You do not need to do that now while you're making your offer. If you are certifying that you're an owner occupant, because owner occupants get preference. They get that first 10 days of preference. And if an owner occupant and an investor make the same offer, the owner occupant's going to win all the time. But you've got to click a box on our offer, which I'll show you in a minute, that indicates whether you're an owner occupant or an investor. If you click that box, you're going to have to sign off on this affidavit certifying that you are going to live in the property for 12 months. And I, the broker, also am going to sign off and say, I understand that they're signing off that they're going to live there for 12 months, and I will do my due diligence to make sure that happens. Make sure I didn't miss any documents up here at the beginning. Get a home inspection. This document just indicates your client knows that their offer was filed electronically and everything is going to be done electronically. Here is an explanation of the contract up here if you need to go down and read what any of this is about. Actually, this is about the contract, and then there's additional information down here about the terms of the sale. So if there's any amenities that will show you here, you'll see the map of where the property is, specific agent info, who's listing the property, who is the one that's responsible. So if you walk into the property and there's standing water in the basement, these are the people that you call and tell that information to. You can also call the listing agent, but normally I just call the field service rep directly and say, hey, here's the issue with the property. Chronos Solutions is ultimately who you will, if you are the winning bid, you will get your contract package from. They handle everything in Missouri. So any winning bid will go through their particular service center and be serviced by them versus HUD. So HUD hires them and they are the ones servicing the contract. So we've decided that we want to make an offer on this property. So we're just going to go ahead and click submit an offer because I'm already signed in. If I wasn't, it would make me log in. So I've got 15 minutes to get this bid done or it's going to restart. And it also indicates again that I can only be owner occupants. My bid's got to be in by this date. And I've got this much time essentially to get that property bid in. And in that, again, that 5 hours, 12 days or 5 days, 12 hours and 31 minutes that is left, it doesn't matter whether I send this offer right now or if I send it in 5 days, 12 hours and 42 minutes. It's as if they arrived at the exact same time. Those first 10 days are all considered simultaneously. All right, now we'll see how the robot thing goes. Oh, I didn't even have to deal with the robot today. Excellent. This one's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm going to use round numbers just so it's easier. So we've got a list price. I don't know why I'm pointing because you can't see it. List price of $45,000. So we'll bid $40,000 on this just so the numbers are nice and even. What type of financing are we doing? So if this particular property is insured with escrow. So if your client is getting an FHA loan and they want that escrow money, we're going to click this box right here. If your client is doing conventional or cash, you would do one of these two down here. Because in its current condition, the property will not qualify for this particular loan right here. Everything has to be perfect in order for it to qualify for this loan right here. Things that aren't perfect, then you apply for this loan down here that says we've got repair money that's going to repair those items. Because your client cannot do any repairs to this property prior to the closing, which is why this loan is in place, so someone can purchase the property and make the repairs after the fact. The seller will pay up to 3% of closing costs. HUD truly looks at line 7. That's the lines at midnight on February 1st. That is the first place that the computer at HUD is going to go and sort out offers. So let's assume that this list price was actually $40,000 and I'm making a full price offer on this property. If my client needs closing costs, absolutely ask for them, but watch the line at 7. Obviously that reduces our net number to HUD. So if your client doesn't need it, I choose not to ask for it if at all possible. Now, another thing to consider, let's assume this property is in really good condition and you know that you're going to have competition and you know that on February 1st at midnight when they open the offers and the bids, there's going to be more than just yours there. You have tried to talk your client into making an offer over list price, even a little bit, and they say they don't want to do it because they don't have the money if the property doesn't appraise. So, okay, we got them to bid a full price list amount. I'm pretty sure because this property is in good condition that I'm likely going to have competition as far as bids are concerned. I'd say there's also a decent chance I'm going to have competition with a full price offer bid just like mine. Now, I tell you, I never want you guys to reduce your commission because you earn every penny of it and I want you to make as much money as possible. That being said, if I come back here and change this to even this little bit difference from what I had, my bid amount is now $5 more than somebody's bid amount that went for the full $1,200. And guess what? If this 37,605 is going against a bunch of offers at 37,600, I'm going to win. So again, that is a tool in your toolbox that I don't want you to utilize if you don't have to. That should have been 1195. Sorry, I did it backwards, but I think you get my point. So if you need to, you can utilize that. I really don't want you to, but if you think you're going to have competition and you want to try to help your owner, then that is the way to do it. Since we are in this first 10-day time period of the offer, I can't even check investor or any of these others. It automatically defaults to owner occupant. All right, I would tell you to go ahead and check the box that says may be held as a backup offer. HUD really doesn't do backup offers, but what will happen is if the deal that they accepted before yours goes south, they will send you an email that says, is your client still willing to make an offer of $40,000 on the property located at 5112 Highland Avenue in Kansas City? And if you check yes, then you will be moved to first position. It doesn't happen very often, but I like to have that option if it does happen. You can't have any immediate family members or anything being involved in this property, and we can't have any interest in this property either. You can purchase a property and you may get pushback, but currently we do not have a listing broker for HUD at this office, and that is the only thing that will prevent you from purchasing a HUD home. If we have a listing broker, they consider that a conflict of interest and will not allow that to happen. And then you're going to put in all of your purchaser's information, which I'm not going to do because, to be honest with you, I have accidentally purchased HUD homes in this class because I go all the way through the bid process. So you're going to fill out all the information here. Buyer gets to choose their closing company. I really like this setup because if, let's say, I want to close at Hogan, it pulls up every Hogan title company in the area. And I can click this one and it automatically populates the information. And hey, when I come down here to escrow officer, it's going to give me my option of who that is. And if there's a backup officer, it would do that too. But there's not one. Ann's the main person at this particular Hogan. If it's Hogan, at East Republic, it populates the address, and then it pulls up, I've got several options here. Becky can be the primary, Nicole can be the secondary. So it allows you to pick that. And if your title company does not appear there, they are probably not registered with HUD. It's not a big deal to get that done, but they do have to sign a few documents and certify a few things about their office. So most of the closing companies around here are already involved in that. This will be your information right here that you put into your profile. Sorry, my phone's ringing. So this will be your information starting the profile, and this is asking you how you want your signature and where you want your information sent when it's time for you to make a signature. Because if we are the winning bid on this property, so let's assume that tonight at midnight is the completion of this particular bid process. Tomorrow morning, you'll receive an email, as will I, from Kronos Solutions, actually from HUD Home Store, saying congratulations, your bid is the winning bid on property case number XYZ. At that point, if I'm doing my job correctly, I will send you a secondary email that says, congratulations on the HUD deal, call me with questions. So you know that I've seen that the bid has gone through. Then later that morning, you'll receive another email from Kronos Solutions that essentially gives you the ability to log into their site. You will put in information on their site and the contract will auto-populate for you. And then they will send the contract out to you, your client, and me, the broker, because we all have to sign electronically. So that process happens. If the property is, let's see if this is down here so I can show you. No, it'll be in terms. Hang on. Let me show you something else here real quick. No, if this is the one I want for you guys or not. This is. So this talks about the earnest money right here. It's got to be a certified check or money over. It cannot be a personal check from your client. It's got to be made out to the title company. And this indicates how much it has to be. So 50 grand or less, it's 500, 50 to 250, it's $1,000. And if it's 250 or more, it's $2,000. That's got to be made out to the title company. If you are the winning bid, Kronos is going to send you the contract package information login. You are also going to have to deliver your earnest check to the listing agent. The listing agent then is going to fill out a document and photocopy the check on it and give you that document. That document then has to be scanned in and sent to Kronos to show that you have deposited the earnest money. And you also have to give the buyer's pre-approval letter. Let's see if that information is written on this notice too. I can't remember. It's not. So HUD will not pay closing costs for investors. Quick sidebar there also. Normally investors don't ask for it, but they will not pay for it if they do. So you'll get that secondary email from Kronos. You'll fill out that information, upload those 2 documents. Then your contract will come back populated. And at that point, your timeframes begin. So you have a 15-day automatic timeframe inspection for HUD. So until you get that full document signed by HUD back, your timeframes do not begin. So if I got it back right now, if I'd submitted all my information a couple of days ago, we got the electronic signatures, and I got it back today, my time periods begin today. So I've got 15 days to get all of my inspections and verify insurance and those typical things that we've got to do with our regular contract, but the timeframes do not begin until I actually get those documents back from HUD. So that's the basic run through on just buying a property. There's a couple of things over here that I want to show you. If you happen to be working with a not-for-profit, like a church that's trying to buy a rectory or anything along those lines, any not-for-profit that you're working with that's looking to purchase properties, HUD does have a special deal for them. It requires a couple of extra phone calls to make sure that we can actually bid on specific properties. But if you've got a client like that, we certainly have ability for them to do things. This is the one I really want you to focus on, that if you happen to be working with a I don't want all of those. Just want to highlight these few things right here. If you're working with a law enforcement officer, firefighter, emergency medical tech, or a teacher, it's worth your time to come look at this site really quickly and just click on the Good Neighbor Next Door, and it will bring up a different map. You'll notice that when we were in the initial page, the map is pretty much all gray except for these 2 states. When I click on the Good Neighbor Next Door, the whole country goes pretty much light colored except for it looks like Michigan, which means that right now the only Good Neighbor Next Door house in the entire country is this one in Michigan. But let's assume this property was in Springfield or Republic or wherever, and your firefighter, police officer, EMT, or teacher works in the district where this house sits. That is key. So you can't have a Christian County police officer buying a home in Springfield and make this work. They have to live in whatever area, or this house has to be in whatever area that they actually work. So a Springfield school district, you'd have to have somewhere within the SPS boundaries, okay? But let's assume we have one of those 4 people, and this house is in Springfield, and your client wants to purchase it. They get first right of refusal on the bid. You can see right here, it can't even be owner occupants. It's Good Neighbor Next Door participants only, which are owner occupants by nature. But what it says is if your client will purchase this house for $65,000 and your client agrees to live there for 3 years, HUD will in turn credit half of that purchase price back to your buyer. So in this particular case, it'd be $32,500 that your client would not have to pay on this property if they lived there for 3 years. So this is HUD they want people that work in the community to live in that community, and they are trying to promote that whenever they can. But as you can see, as we talked about, there's only one in the entire country right now that qualifies for that program, because no other state has any kind of maybe North Carolina. All right, North Carolina has one. So there's 2 in the entire country right now. I have sold a couple of them in Springfield, and I can tell you there's nothing happier than selling a $100,000 house to a teacher, knowing that they're ultimately only going to pay $50,000 for it. So it's a big deal. Again, don't bank on them being here all the time, but if you are working with one of those 4 individuals, absolutely come here. And again, obviously you pull up the main page, you click here, and I can look real quickly and see that there's nothing in Missouri, and I can go on about my business. But if there was something and you could get your client a great deal on a property, it may not be their ideal property, but I can guarantee a lot of those people will live someplace for 3 years if it saves them half of their mortgage, okay? So that is the nuts and bolts of the HUD home store. There's some other things up here. You don't need to worry about this because that is the broker thing. If there's any property contacts, once you're logged in, you can come in and you can plug in your property case number or some of this information and find your actual bid. So whenever you make a bid on a property, I showed you these earlier, they all have a property case number. Make sure you write that down. You will also get a confirmation number when you make your bid, but that is not as easy to utilize in the system. This is how HUD will find properties. So when you make an offer, make sure, and it will give you an opportunity to print your offer page at the end. I encourage you to do that because it's got all the details on it. And it will also have this case number as well as your confirmation number. And you can see the different kinds here. So we got a new one here. This one's got more commission because HUD will pay a minimum of $1,000 in commission. This one obviously at 3% is only going to give us 7,500 bucks. Excuse me, 750 bucks. So HUD is going to say, we're going to pay you $1,000 minimum commission on this property. And they will do that for anything that doesn't reach that $1,000 minimum. So when you see that little guy with the enhanced commission, they're just saying because the property is so low priced, we will make sure you get at least enough for your time and effort. Like on a $6,000 property, 60 bucks probably ain't going to entice you too much to sell that, but $1,000 might. It'll show you what's new. And if it says exclusive, it's going to be owner occupant only or not for profits. If it says extended, oops, it's not where I meant to go. If it says extended, that means we're past that initial 10-day time period and anyone can make a bid on it. And those bids are considered every single day. So if your client, if you had an investor or even an owner occupant that made a bid on this particular property today, it's gone tomorrow. So if they make a $30,000 offer on this $45,000 house today, they don't get the deal. It's not just sitting there in the wings waiting for HUD to acknowledge it. If you want to have another bid go in, you have to completely come back and start over again, just like we just did, which obviously doesn't take that long to fill out, but your bids do not carry over. It's a one-time shot, which is another thing I tell my clients on HUD Home Store is this is not the place to try to lowball the seller, because if they get more than one offer, they're going to take the highest one, period. So I encourage you to put your best foot forward on your initial offer to make sure that you're not potentially missing out on the sale of this property by, 100 or 200 bucks because you're trying to get the great deal. So just make sure that they put their best foot forward. And another thing I will tell you on that backup offer is, let's suppose that your client bid the $30,000 on this property and it didn't reach HUD's minimum number that they need in order to sell that property. Now, there's no magic formula that I can give you that will tell you, what you should actually bid on this $45,000 property. I wish I could tell you to come in and multiply it times 87% and add 200 bucks, and that's what you need to offer. But I've seen them go for 99% of list price, and I've seen them go as low as 59% of list price. So it's across the board. There's no way to know what HUD actually needs out of this house. But if I offer $30,000 on this $45,000 house, and it doesn't meet that minimum requirement for HUD, and they don't have anyone meet that minimum requirement for them over a period of time, ultimately, I will most likely receive an email that says, if your client is still interested in 725 Dale Lane in Richland, Missouri, and is willing to give HUD a net number of X, so we'll come in and we'll do this way. Hang on, it's going to make me log in again. So in our case, we got what, a $45,000 house here. So we bid 30 on it. Let's just see what that number generates. We obviously no closing costs. So whatever we bid, HUD's net number, it didn't work out for them. That they could not sell it for this 28.2. But we get an email from HUD a couple of weeks later that says, if your client is willing to raise their net number to 35.2, we can sell this property to them. Now, that doesn't mean I can just come in here and plug in 7 grand because it's not going to come out exactly right. You'll have to plug in that 35.2 number here and then work the math backwards, subtracting the commissions, and then you'll be able to see what actually the list price needs to be. So in this case, it's probably going to have to be about 37,700. So that, yeah, 37.5, somewhere in there. So we've reached that minimum number that HUD needed, and now we can buy the property. So that's another reason to click that backup offer box, because if they don't get a bid that meets their requirement and you didn't meet their requirement, they might come back and tell you what that minimum number needs to be. And then you can truly buy it for as cheap as you possibly can, because they can't sell it for below that number. So again, that doesn't happen very often. Hopefully you'll get it on your first bid, but if not, that may happen to you if nobody else gets the bid either. All right, and I think that is what I got for you today. So as per usual, if you're doing this and got questions, you know where to reach me. So call me and yeah, call me if you got questions. Have a great day, Natalia.
Okay, thank you very much. I actually do have a question.
Okay, what do you got?
I have a potential client that is looking for a church. Do you think I can represent him? Is a church actually counted like a commercial building?
It would be, most likely. It's going to be sold as commercial. And there's certainly not going to be a church on here, because all these properties had to go FHA. And that has to be a residential property in order to go FHA. So yeah.
I don't mean like on HUD, like HUD homes, like in general.
Yeah, I would just reach out on the internal Facebook page and see if anyone knows of anything along those lines, because some people may have that in their back pocket, because churches are hard to sell. So a lot of times they're not listed, and it's more of a word of mouth. So I might put that on the internal page and ask there and just see if you get any response from that. And other than that, I would tell you, just go start knocking on churches' doors.
Yeah, I just was wondering because I'm not sure, as a new agent, can I work with commercial? Can I represent commercial clients?
It's probably better to work with someone that knows commercial well, because the paperwork is different. You can certainly show the properties, but when it comes to actually writing an offer or writing a lease, I would certainly want you to have help with that. Because even myself, if I do a commercial deal, because my primary focus is residential, even though I understand the commercial contracts, I still refer my commercial deals out, because I know they know what they're doing, and I know that I think I know what I'm doing, but I may not. So you can absolutely show the properties, but as far as, again, writing up offers on those, I would really encourage you to get assistance.
Okay. And do we have in the office somebody that is doing that?
So yes, we've got agents that are doing commercial that we can certainly get you connected with if and when it's time for you to write an offer. And I can sit down and help you with that as well, but I would still probably call in somebody that knows more than I do to get that done.
Okay.
Okay. So if you find something, let me know. We'll get it worked out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.